read like 119 books this year, so I feel like it's pretty feasible that we could read 10 more. Hi guys, my name is Julie. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're going to be going over my 10 before the end. Basically, it's just the 10 books that I want to read before the end of the year, and I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, so we're just going to get straight into the books. So I've got 10 books here that I want to read before the end of the year. Most of these are fantasy. There's one literary fiction, and I think that's literally it. So we're just gonna get straight into it. We're gonna start with my favorite book of all time. Not my favorite book of all time. I think the second book in this trilogy is my favorite, but it is a reread, and that is the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. If you don't know anything about me, know that I love this book. This series is like literally everything to me. It is my top tier series on the same lines as The Hunger Games, because this is literally everything that I look for in a novel. The characters, the plot, the world, literally so good. Everything is so good about this, and I am just like I never stop thinking about it. I literally dream about this, and I read it like over a year ago. Like, R.F. Kuang is my favorite author, if you didn't know, and basically just the entire trilogy that I want to reread this year, because I'm just having those like reread needs. And I feel like this is a series that I'm just gonna reread every year because it is my favorite series and I just love it and I want to tab it. But if you don't know what the Poppy War is about, it basically follows this girl named Rin. She is a war orphan, and the family that she lives with at the beginning of the book is sending her to an assigned marriage, but the way that she can get out of this assigned marriage is to go to college, like to go to a school. And so there's this exam called the Keiju that all of the people in this town at a certain age have to take. So she ends up training very, very hard. Like, it's actually a bit insane, the stuff that she does. She works very hard, studies very hard, and she ends up acing the Keiju and getting sent to Sinagard, which is the highest military academy you can go to. It's like literally the best in the entire country. And there she faces a lot of discrimination because she is from the island of Spear. It's not Spearly, right? She is Spearly, but it's Spear. Yeah, she is from the island Spear, and right now we think that she's the only one who like literally still exists because a huge like genocide happened and everybody on that island was wiped out during one of the Poppy Wars. And there's like another Poppy War incoming because of like just the state of politics right now. And so you're kind of following her in this military academy. She's going through like a lot of hardship, and there's also this like upcoming war that's like impending war. And it's just amazing. The characters, I literally am obsessed with like all of the found family in this. Like, it's not the healthiest at all, but I'm obsessed with all of the characters. They're just so well written. R.F. Kuang is just, it's literally a 6-star series for me. And yeah, I need to stop talking about it because it will be the entire video if I don't. The next book I have is by another author that has one of my favorite books, which is Normal People, if you could see it back there. It is literally my second favorite standalone of all time, and it is annotated to the bone. Like, it is actually insane how much I love this book. I really want to read it in Spanish. I've read it twice now in English. So yeah, anyways, this is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This is another one of her literary fiction novels. I think they're all literary fiction, but I've only read Normal People so far, and I really want to get into the other books, but this one sounds the most up my street, so I picked this one up. I got it for sale for $4, so this was really a steal. I don't know that much about this. I know that it follows two best friends, Frances and Bobby, and they're basically like messy. It says, Frances is a cool-headed and darkly observant young woman, vaguely pursuing a career in writing while studying in Dublin. Her best friend is the beautiful and endlessly self-possessed Bobby. At a local poetry performance one night, they meet a well-known photographer, and as the girls are then gradually drawn into her world, Frances is reluctantly impressed by the older woman's sophisticated home and handsome husband, Nick. But however amusing Frances and Nick's flirtation seems at first, it begins to give way to a strange and then painful intimacy. Basically, they're messy. Like, this is a story about like female friendship and being like best friends with someone, but also like affairs, because that stuff ensues. I know it's sapphic as well, so I'm really excited to get into this. It's not that long. It's like just under 300 pages, so I do want to get to this. I just need to be in the mood for literary fiction. So the next book I want to read before the end of the year is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. This is a set of 3 prequel novellas to the A Game of Thrones book, like the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. It's pretty vague on the back. It says that it follows Sir Duncan. He is a hedge knight and his squire boy Egg, and it says that great destinies lay ahead for these two, as do powerful foes, royal intrigue, and outrageous exploits. I don't know that much about this book. There's like a lot of illustrations, as you can tell, and it's really floppy, so I'm excited to read this. They literally just finished filming the show that's coming out in 2025, so I definitely want to get to this before. And I also want to read the Game of Thrones books because I've read Fire and Blood, and I tried to get my hands on the new Game of Thrones books and it just wasn't happening. So we're going to see if we can get those near December time and read those then. But I do want to read this before because it takes place 100 years before the events of a Game of Thrones book. So very excited to get into this. The next book I have is also on Kindle Unlimited. It is The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. I cannot tell you that much about this except that it takes place with something called the Bridge Kingdom, and I know it's a romantasy. I've heard so many good things about this for so many years, like that it's like a really good romantasy. I think it's like enemies to lovers a little bit, but I've heard the royal intrigue in this is pretty good. Basically, it says, raised as a warrior, Princess Laura knows two things: King Arin of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and that she must be the one to bring him to his knees. The Bridge Kingdom is the only route through a storm-ravaged world, and it uses its powers to deprive its enemies, including Laura's homeland. When she's sent to be King Arin's bride, Laura will do whatever it takes to bring down the kingdom's defenses, even if it means seducing her new husband. Yet as she learns more about the war to possess the bridge, Laura's feelings for Arin transform from hostility to passion, and she faces a terrible dilemma: which kingdom to save and which to destroy. That like last line is what made me want to get it. It says which kingdom to save and which to destroy, which sounds really good. And the cover is really pretty. I know it just got traditionally published in a different cover, which is also really pretty, but I have the first two books. I know it was originally a duology and now there's 5 books. Like I think they're like spin-off novels in the same world with like similar characters, but I am only going to read the first 2 books as of right now because I only own the first two and I need to get through books on my physical TBR. But I am interested to read this. If it like leaves off on a super bad cliffhanger, what is wrong with me? I literally woke up like 30 minutes ago, guys. But I am only gonna read the first 2 is what I was gonna say, but does not even make sense. I literally don't know what I'm saying today. The next book has really pretty sprayed edges, which is kind of controversial on a paperback, but it is Fireborn by Rosaria Munda, and this is like a Dragon Academy book, fantasy book, but it's YA, and people have compared this to Fourth Wing, which I enjoyed. Fourth Wing, I thought it was like a little too smutty for me, and I didn't really care about like the romance. Like I just wanted the dragons. So people are like, if you like Fourth Wing, or if you didn't like Fourth Wing, read this because it's better. Allegedly, don't call me on that and don't fight me, but that's what I've heard. And this follows like 2 childhood best friends. There was a revolution, and it says that everybody gets a chance to test into the governing class of dragon riders. So there's like this new regime, and you get to, I guess, go to school to be a dragon rider if you pass the test. And it's like about 2 best friends, and it says that loyalty and love are tested in this gripping adventure that asks what matters most: the family you were born into or the one you've chosen. I think it's a trilogy, yeah, Aurelian Cycle, and it has 3 books right now, so we'll see. This is a Walmart exclusive edition with the sprayed edges, which I like it on this edition. Sometimes I don't like sprayed edges on paperback, but I just think this cover is really gorgeous, and I'm super excited to read this. I'm reading The Priory of the Orange Tree right now, which will have a vlog coming out probably the next video, but I am just obsessed with dragons. I love dragons. Game of Thrones is my favorite show, tied with The Walking Dead, and I love anything dragons, so I'm very excited to get into this. Alright, the next book I have here is another series. I feel like a lot of these are like starting a series, so they're adding more than 10 books, but we're just gonna pretend they're not. So the next book I have is The Darkened Hol Star by Ashley Sutterworth. This cover is stunning. This is probably one of my favorite covers that I own. I think this one is gorgeous. I don't really love the other covers in the series. They're just not my taste personally. But anyways, this is like a fantasy series. I think there's like 5 books in it, maybe 6. I know 4 of them are out right now because my library just added a couple on audiobook and on ebook. So it was in the LGBTQ plus section of Barnes & Noble when I picked it out, and I had wanted to read it for forever, but I didn't know that it was a queer book, and it says it has a queer cast. It says, choose your player. The Ironborn Fae, outcast of a royal Fae family, a tempestuous fury exiled to Earth from the immortal realm and hellbent on revenge, a dutiful Fae prince determined to earn his place on the throne, the prince's brooding guardian burdened with a terrible secret. For centuries, the 8 courts of folk have lived among us, concealed by magic and bound by law to do no harm to humans. This arrangement has long kept peace in the courts until a series of gruesome and ritualistic murders rocks the city of Toronto and threatens to expose fairies to the human world. 4 queer teens, each who hold a key piece of the truth behind these murders, must form a tenuous alliance in their effort to track down the mysterious killer behind these crimes. If they fail, they risk the destruction of the fairy and human worlds alike. If that's not bad enough, there's a war brewing between the mortal and immortal realms, and one of these teens is destined to tip the scales. The only question is which way. Wish them luck, they're gonna need it. I'm guessing it has like a found family aspect. I don't know. It just sounds really good and I really want to get into this. I'm super excited. Again, covers, just like, don't judge a book by its cover, but I literally do. Like, I will pick this up because it has a gorgeous cover, even though it does sound good on the back as well. So, another one added. This next one is also a series. Like, literally, I don't know where I get the confidence.
What gave you the confidence?
Delusion.
But anyways, the next book is Nevernight by J. Kristoff, a trilogy. Again, I have no idea what this is about besides that it has to do with assassins and that the main female character, Mia, is like really cool. That's all I know. It says, in a world where the sun almost never sets, a woman gains entry to a school of infamous assassins, seeking vengeance against the powers that destroyed her family. Daughter of an executed traitor, Maya Corvier is barely able to escape her father's failed rebellion with her life. Alone and friendless, she wanders a city built from the bones of a dead god, haunted by the Senate and its thugs. But her gift for speaking with the shadows leads to her to the hearth of a retired killer and a future she never imagined. Now Mia's apprenticed to the deadliest flock of assassins in the entire Republic, the Red Church. Deadly trials await her within the church's halls, blades and poisons, treachery and death. If she survives the initiation, she'll be inducted among the chosen of the Lady of Blessed Murder and be one step closer to the only thing she desires, revenge. That sounds really good. I've read one of J. Kristoff's books that he co-wrote with Amy Kaufman, and I did enjoy it, so I am super excited to get into this. I also got this from the thrift store, but it was a little more expensive there. But I'm super excited to get into this. I guess it has trials and assassins, and that's just really up my street. So I'm very excited to get into this book, and yeah. The next one is very scary for me, and it is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I have had this on my physical TBR for probably a year, because once I read The Poppy War, it put me in such a bad reading hangover, a reading slump for the ages. It was so bad because nothing compared to it, and I've since gotten out of that reading slump and been in more, but this book has just stared at me and scared me because I looked up books like The Poppy War or books to read if you love The Poppy War, and this is on every single list. It is I'm scared. It's a trilogy again because I don't know. It says, for centuries, honorable greenbone warriors have used magical jade to enhance their abilities and defend the island of Kikan from foreign invasion. Now the war is over and a new generation vies for control of Kikan's bustling capital city. 4 siblings of the powerful Call family must prepare for battle, and the fragile peace between the clans is about to break. I've just heard really great things about it. It's a fantasy. It is a trilogy, like I said. Family's duty, magic is power, honor is everything. So I'm very excited to read this. I kind of want to go into it blind. I literally don't want to know anything more about it than I already know. I know that the 3rd book is everybody's favorite in this series, so I'm very excited to get to that. But I'm just a little nervous. This cover I also think is really gorgeous. It's giving early 2000s a little bit, but I'm kind of vibing with it, and I'm very excited for this. I'm also very scared for this book, and I will be reading it soon, probably in November. But that is Gideon the Ninth by Tasman Moore. Hopefully I'm saying that right. This is literally just marketed to me as lesbian necromancers in space. And it's also marketed to me as a horror kind of sci-fi. It takes place in space, but it's also more horror elements, as you can probably tell by the cover, which I think is gorgeous. I own the 1st book and the 3rd book, and I don't own the 2nd book because I got the 3rd book for $4 at Ollie's discount bargain store. But it is all on Kindle Unlimited. I know that, so I'm very excited. This was originally a trilogy. It's called the Locked Tomb Trilogy, but now it's a series because there's a 4th book coming out that I don't know if the release date has even been set for that. So that's not great, but it's also kind of vague on the back. It says, the Emperor needs necromancers. The 9th necromancer needs a swordswoman. Gideon has a sword, some dirty magazines, and no more time for undead nonsense. I'm very excited. I've heard really great things about this. I'm a little nervous because it is kind of long. It's for 500 pages, but I've heard this is very confusing at the beginning. So we'll see. I do have the audiobook on Libby right now, so I definitely need to be reading it soon, but I'm super excited. I'm just scared. But that makes 9 books. This last book is the one I'm probably the most scared for because this is my most anticipated book of the rest of the year, honestly, because I've just heard nothing but great things, literally amazing things. I've heard 5 stars from every single person I've heard talk about this book, and that is so intimidating. And I have read one other book from this author, and it was a 6-star read. Like, it literally knocked Normal People out of its place for my favorite book of all time. And that is The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong. The one that knocked Normal People out is Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong, which hasn't released yet. I had an ARC, like an advanced reader's copy, and it comes out October 30th. And it literally, I need to get my hands on that book because it is so amazing. It's literally like everything I want in like a fantasy, and I was just obsessed with it. It was so good, and I'm terrified for this one because I don't even know what this is about. Like, I know like little tidbits. I know it takes place within a family, and that a lot of people say that the main character, Misaki, is like their new favorite character of all time, or like one of their top female main characters because she's just really good, and I am terrified. I'm terrified. And this cover is gorgeous. This is the indie published version. My parents bought it for me. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I love like indie paperbacks because they're just like so nice to hold, and I love like the squareness of this. Like, it's like kind of like Gideon the Ninth, where it's just like they're like rectangles and they're not like curved. And maybe it'll change when I read it, but I'm so excited to get into this. Literally, the top says the Poppy War's darkness meets the last Airbender's elemental magic. Like, I need to read it immediately, but I'm scared. I'm probably gonna wait till the more winter months, like when it's a little colder outside, to read this, because y'all don't understand how much Blood Over Brighthaven ended me. Like, I literally cannot go through that pain again. Like, if this is anything like the Blood Over Brighthaven book, not happening right now, babe. I want to go into this blind because I went into Blood Over Brighthaven blind, and I feel like it just made the story that much more impactful. However, just to be nice, I will read you guys the back. It's actually quite long, too. It says, on a mountainside at the edge of the Kaiganese Empire live the most powerful fighters in the world. Warriors capable of raising the sea and wielding blades of ice. For centuries, the fighters of the Kusanagi Peninsula have held the Empire's enemies at bay, earning their treacherous bit of land the name the Sword of Kaigen. Born into Kusanagi's legendary Matsuda family, 14-year-old Mamoru has always known his purpose, to master his family's fighting techniques and defend his homeland. But when an outsider arrives and pulls back the curtain on Kaigen's alleged age of peace, Mamoru realizes that he might not have much time before he is to become the fighter he was bred to be. Even worse, the empire he was born to defend might stand on a foundation of lies. Misaki told herself that she left the passions of her youth behind when she married into the Matsuda family. Determined to be a good housewife and mother, she hid away her sword along with everything from her days as a fighter in a faraway country. But with her son asking questions about the outside world, the threat of invasion looming on the horizon, and her frigid husband grating on her nerves, Misaki finds the fighter in her clawing its way back to the surface. When the winds of war reach their peninsula, will the Matsuda family have the strength to defend their empire, or will they tear each other apart before the true enemies ever reach their shores? I'm very excited. I'm very scared, and I don't know how to feel. I'm super excited to get into this. It is like a little bit of a thick one. Like, I think it's like 600 pages, and like this is the text. So that does make 10 books. So let me try and pick these up real quick. Alright guys, so here are my 10 before the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. If you want to follow me on other platforms, those will always be linked below. And I will see you guys in the next video.